Reading in middle and secondary schools should be more than just reading textbooks. In fact, most adolescents are actually pretty interested in reading on a range of subjects outside of school, but the kind of things that they like to read are seldom found in school. So, teachers should find ways to encourage students to develop and maintain these lifelong reading habits. And if we think about content area reading as going beyond the textbook to include other kinds of reading materials, then we can begin to nurture those lifelong reading habits that actually enrich students' content related learning. Reading in a digital age changes what counts as literacy in some people's eyes. It also can lead to new understandings of students, how they're using their free time and their after school hours for reading. According to a recent Kaiser Family Foundation report, young people between the ages of 8 and 18 are spending about an average of 7 hours and 38 minutes a day using media that portrays meaning. And that meaning is portrayed through images, sounds, icons, gestures, performances, etc. But that's not all. When the time they spend using more than one medium is accounted for, so this is multitasking, the total number of hours of media that they're exposed to rises to about 10 hours and 45 minutes a day. A very small segment of that time is spent reading print media, about 25 minutes a day for books, about 9 minutes a day for magazines, and about 3 minutes a day for newspapers. So, by far, the largest chunk of time per day is spent on multimodal text in the form of television, music, audio, websites, video games, movies, that kind of thing. Now, what these numbers fail to show is that adolescents are also producers of these 21st century texts and not just consumers. According to a report issued by the Pew Internet and American Life Project, 64% of young people between the ages of 12 and 17 have internet access in the United States, and they spend a large amount of their after school hours actually creating web content. So that would be something like blogs and web pages. They're sharing original artwork like photos, other artwork, stories, videos, and they're remixing online content to create new text. More than half of the young people surveyed in this study had also created profiles on social networking sites. So, keep in mind that most of this activity remains largely invisible to their teachers, but is a big part of their everyday literacy. Now, reading from fiction and nonfiction resources has a lot of benefits, and 5 of those are listed here. So take a moment and skim through what can be a benefit for your students going beyond just reading a textbook. Keep in mind that teachers should not overlook picture books or comics. These can be good classroom resources because usually they're relatively short in format, they're pretty thought provoking, and this really makes them ideal as background builders or builders of schema in some ways. It also helps with discussion starters, and especially within the confines of a short class time meeting. And popular culture, like graphic novels, film, television, that kind of thing, can be integrated into a lot of different content area subjects. Teachers can integrate trade books into content area classes by reading aloud to students, either short excerpts or even longer works in more of a serial form. But some teachers may have the opportunity to offer some students some free reading time during the week. When students read from content related materials of their own choosing, that helps encourage interest in the topic. And this would require some classroom time to be able to do this. But keep in mind that also read alouds and free reading time are really beneficial for students who are learning English. Teachers can also assign readings that complement the curriculum and expand on concepts that are just introduced in the textbook. A whole class may read the same source, or teachers could provide multiple copies of several books, assign students to groups based on their interest or ability, and then trade those around at different points. Choosing trade books and other reading materials requires some knowledge of your students' interests and also their abilities. But you can find resources online, for instance, through the International Reading Association. Their website is a good place to start, where they have reviewed and will recommend trade books for adolescents. And that will give you some high quality reading for the right age range. Lack of choice in school reading is one reason that secondary students frequently say that they are resistant to assigned reading. It's difficult to pick up a book that every student will enjoy, but ultimately the teacher's judgment and a bit of trial and error is necessary to match the books and students. So be patient if it doesn't work perfectly the first time. Picture books, manga, graphic novels, all of these can be used to introduce abstract topics, develop technical vocabulary, provide information for inquiry projects or writing prompts. It also gives you both a visual and conceptual experiences for different cultures and different time periods.